Hello, hello. Thank you for joining me. I'm Marie from Crafty Landing, back with you today, and we should be day 30, the final day in June, the very, very last day of my daily spread, the 30-day creative prompt challenge that's been hosted by Rach and Bella Crafts. And hasn't it been fun? I've totally enjoyed myself. Yes, I have. And I'm amazed and proud of myself for keeping up with it. I have to every now and then. I've done some days in advance, if you know what I mean, to make sure I keep up. If I have a busy week ahead, I've made sure I've kept up and done 2 or 3 beforehand, because I've really enjoyed myself. Yes, so I think today must be the final day of the sale to get the kits that Rachel and Bella designed for the My Daily Spread 26. There is the foundation kit, which is very neutral. There is the botanical kit, floral, and there is the shabby chic kit. So pinks and blues and all the pastel colours. And as usual, Rachel gives you the ephemera kits to go with each paper kit. So go and grab yourself the kits if you have found inspiration by watching all the videos that have been going on throughout June. There will be 60 videos in her playlist section. If you go to Rachel's YouTube, she lists the videos in her description as the month has gone on. So yeah, I've totally had fun. Totally had fun. I've used the shabby chic kit in my journals. Just drinking some tea. Dry mouth. Why have I got 2 kits in front of me? Well, I started with this one, and I'm a vintage girly, as you know, so I made my blank journal by using my vintage papers from my stash, and I counted only enough papers to make sure I had 1 page a day, so 30 days in half, 15. But of course paper has a front and a back, so I only used about maybe 8 papers, but it started getting really chunky. Look at this. And that was even before we got halfway through. So I was like, oh. So I ended up making myself another journal, and this one is even chunkier. So there we go. There we have it. I have 2 journals to share with you today. Bella is also doing her flip through, or talking. Really, our prompt is sharing our favourite spread with you and maybe recreating it or altering it in some way or expanding it. But I've actually chosen to share bits of my journals with you. So let's get to it. I just need to show you before I open it up. I just want to show you this little thing here. Can you see it's hanging like a charm? This is made out of envelopes, this dinky thing. And inside, there are even like little tags inside here. Let me take, look. My mum made it. Isn't she clever? Oh, she's very clever, my mum. See, it's so small I can't get it back in. There we go. Look, a little flower. She's even included lacy edges. Look at that. These are dinky little lace there. Dinky little envelopes. And you can see how small it is because it's on a paper clip. So I've had to put that in. Look at that. And I have made this cover. So the original journal. This is like a napkin table runner type thing. What I initially did was, it's only cardboard, and I decoupaged pink tissue paper. Then I wrapped it in some lace here, and as you can see here on the back, and then I put some fabric on it and I ruched the fabric up. But I actually slow stitched the fabric before I stitched it onto the lace here. So Bella, look, Bella will be really proud of me. And you can see that I've slow stitched it on here, and then I added some crochet sort of trim there. You can see the corner of it, so I've ruched it down. And if I lift it up onto here, I've done some layering of laces and things, all hand sewn on there. So I'm quite proud of myself for doing that. And I'm also proud of myself for keeping up with the challenge. Oh my goodness me, I'm so, so proud of myself for doing that. Right, let's get to it. These are the prompts are not in any order. I just, once I realized that this one was going to get too chunky and I made the second one, I just then used the prompts throughout both of them. So they're not in any kind of order. If I remember the pages to the prompt, I will tell you. If I don't, sorry, but it will be one of the prompts somewhere. Sometimes the prompts overlapped, but I still did that daily prompt somewhere. Right, so let's get her open. Here I have like a tuck spot here, and in there I will be putting the prompts and also a summary of how I felt the June challenge went, the My Daily Spread 26 challenge went for me. So that will be sort of my contribution, my kind of journal thoughts about it, and I'll slot it in there. So this is day one, I do believe, which was a hidden journaling card. And I made a little window and I have a journaling card in there. So that was like a little window fold out and a bit of lace there. And I have a tiny tag in this lace. And here, this is one of my vintage papers. Now, can you see the date on there? 1870. Oh, look at that, 1870. So I wanted to keep that showing somewhere. So I didn't want to cover it all up. So that's that one. And that just, there we go, it goes back in there. And here, that's the bottom half of that paper, that vintage paper with the original stamp on it, the 1 penny stamp. And I've just put a journaling card in there. This is my attempt at cascading. One of the prompts was cascading. It was, can't remember which day it was, but my cascading was that. Okay, so they're sort of lift up ones. And again, blank to journal on if I so wish on there. And here I've added in one of Rachel's beautiful ladies there, just inside the tuck where I folded up the paper, This was the tag. Now this was the layered tag. No, it might have been, it definitely is one of the tags towards the end of the month. So I think that is one of the layered tags. And again, I have this, which is on book page, a vintage book there. And you can see I've added washi to help strengthen the fold of the book so that it doesn't get torn, because it is very fragile. And I've lifted it up there, folded it up there, and there is another journaling card in there. Now, this one is some hidden journaling under a flap. So I've made a pocket and I added some lace, hand sewed some lace. And if you lift up the lace, there is a little hidden pocket under here with one of Rachel's envelopes from the kit. And I've just made a little booklet in there using up some of my scraps. So this one was hidden journaling under a flap. That goes in there, and then the lacy flap just goes back over. And inside the pocket, look at that penmanship on that original document. Oh, it's so lovely. And I've made some little cards there using the images and ephemera from the Shabby Chic kit. There we go. So that is that one. And then I have some room for writing here. And you can see some of the original, and that's the solicitors, Lockhart solicitors. Here, now this one was something under flip up. This was day 3, a flip up, and I put a belly band in there using some vintage wallpaper. That's a piece of genuine vintage wallpaper, and I used one of Rachel's images and a little bit of cluster there using lace and a button, and I've just used some vintage lined paper to make the journaling card underneath the belly band there. So that was the flip up, and that was on a book page. And I think now this one, I think I did, was there a tag cluster? I think there might have been a tag, a cluster. Yes, day 14. And for that, I decided to do belly band. So there's actually a belly band here and here. So double, like a double belly band. And I've made 2 tags on the music paper. And I've made 2 tags, one to go in the background. There it is there. And then a smaller one, which actually is a journaling one. And that goes in there like that. So that's my journaling. That's my layered tags. Oh, now this is the center spread. So do you see what I mean? I'd only done, and it was getting chunky already. This is my favorite spread. Even though I had already done a tag cluster, I've actually done another one because I really wanted some impact in my center spread here. So I've made some pockets by tearing the edges, and I've just collaged 3 tags here. And again, that pocket there is layered on top of that one. So let me show you the tags. So I've done some collaging in the background, used a die cut from my stash and one of Rachel's words, made with love, that one there. And the smallest one, book page background, a rose from my stash and beautiful moments. And there's the original tag there. And this one is an original craft tag as well there. And this one, collaged the background and used one of Rachel's little ephemera pieces there. And I just cut the edge off. If it was too big, I found where Rachel had layered everything in her digital artwork, if it was too big, I cut the edge where the sort of another layer of her piece would be here, if you know what I mean, her digital layer, and I just cut that bottom layer off. I found the edge of what another one of her pieces was to make it just look slightly smaller. And again, treasure this, some of her words, and just some vintagey ribbon on top there. So that one goes there, that one in there, and this is one of my favorite spreads. I don't know if I have, oops, I have to glue that bit down. I don't know if I just like one particular spread more than others, but I do like the look of this one when it's open, you know, and I have some crochet trim here and a piece of lace here, and I just love how it all came together and how it all looks when you open up the center spread. So if I turn over, now this one was very similar to Steph's open up, fold down envelope. This might have been the envelope day, envelope page, day 8. It might have been. And I sort of used Steph's idea, but I made mine into a pocket and I made mine look like a heart shape. So here, this bit looks like a heart. And I stuck mine on. And in Steph's, she lets hers fold out for a bit of journaling space. I've made mine into a pocket. And that is Steph from Hilltop View Journals. If any of you, she's another one. She did it every day and she produced a video every day. She must be exhausted. Steph, you must be exhausted, but well done. I loved it. And that's one of Rachel's ephemera pieces. Another word on there, remember. And there's plenty of room in this pocket to add a few more bits and pieces. And there is a hidden journaling spot. And I know that there definitely was a day for hidden journaling spot. And if you pull this out here, there we go. And I included some lined paper just with a little coloured staple, and that goes in there like so. And here was a booklet, no, a little, I think this is just extra. That might be my minimalist. Actually, there was one that was minimalist, and that was one of Rachel's background papers, and I just added on a flower from my stash and then made it into a journaling card and just used a couple of pieces there, the word thoughts, so I can write my thoughts on there again on some vintage book page. So that might be my minimalist page. If it's not, it can be my minimalist page. Here is my collaged background. So that was my collage page, and I used a flip over again with one of Rachel's lovely ladies and a little bit of cluster there. And this also has a little pull out of my own stash ready for some journaling. So that just gets tucked in there like so. Now this is my clip element. So I decided to put it on the plain background because it shows it off even more. Now there's my paper clip. Often we tend to do something like that, but I decided to see what would happen if I did an extra piece on the top, and actually it's worked out quite well. I made sure the back was covered nicely as well, and I'm really pleased with that because that actually, look, it's not too much of a problem getting it on the page. I actually quite like that. So that's my clippy element, and you can see the original vintage page here, 1893. Look at that. And that there, that's my favourite one. Favourite one. And that gets put just there. This is my pocket with tags. That was day, or a pocket with cards. That was day 24, I think. So I just decorated my pocket there on the book page, and we have a little card from my stash, book page with one of my flowers, and then Rachel's papers, and I just decorated those up. So that is the pocket with the cards or tags, which was day, did I just say which day it was? Day 24. There we are, that goes there, and that's the back of that photo, book page, sorry. Here I left this page plain and just put a little cluster down there, and on the other side is a flip out. Now this has got two little journaling spots, so that's like a scrappy pad, a little bit of crochet trim, and that goes in the pocket that I made there using one of Rachel's ephemera pieces. Oh, and I cut out these words, or tore out these words from one of the book papers. Quite unique. And those words were in a sentence. So I really like that. I just find some words from book pages, and if I like them, I'll use them. And if I open this up this way, you've got an extra little pocket here with some lace. Can you see that lace over the paper? And a little flower, fabric flower. And I've made another little book for journaling, and I wanted to keep this bit, you see, that's why I did a flip out, because look at that, that's the genuine handwriting on that vintage document. Superb. And here is the back. I've just clustered up there because I didn't want to cover up the what's it called, the imprint on the vintage page. Just look at that. It's just gorgeous, just gorgeous. And if you open it up here, I've got a journaling card with one of those precious ladies in there, and I just mounted some book page on that, and she gets tucked in there, that gets closed, and then we can turn it. And here is the envelope from my day, tear and repair, my day 26, and that was the finished envelope that I altered, vintage envelope, tearing. I only used the scissors for necessary things like cutting the string, and that's quite big, So I didn't bind it in, I've just left it as a floating pocket, but it does fit quite nicely in the back there. And that is the first of the journals. Let me get the next one for you. So shall I leave that there? Oh no, it might get distracting. Let's put it here. Right. I need another sip of my tea. This time I did use some of the kit to make my topper. So that's the ephemera piece, and I've just put some lace under there and then crochet trim, layered it up a little bit, and then the yellow ladies here, and again some vintage lace and a metal flower with some ribbon there. And again, it's just cardboard, and I've used some velour to actually cover it, which I got from the range. If you're in the UK, you can get a roll of this in the range, and I've used it lots to make journal covers. It is a really, really nice piece to use. And the corners don't get too, if I just open it up a minute and show you, the corners don't get too bulky either. I've used clips to hold all that down, and it didn't get, it was good. So that's what I've done. So that's the cover. And again, some of the pages have got, I just love this layered look. I think I've mentioned it before in some of my videos. When it's all layered, look, I just love it. You just want to delve inside, don't you? When it's all like that. I love it. Right, so let's do that. So this one's a little bit more stiff to open, but it will open. There we go. And this time I've just used a little bit of a cluster. No tuck spot, no pocket, just a bit of a cluster. Fabric for my spine. And here is the front page. Look at this penmanship. It's so gorgeous. I just have to show you. And then I've used one of Rachel's ladies here. Because I made a second journal, some of the ladies that I might have used in here have reappeared in here because it's another journal, so it doesn't matter. It's a brand new journal. So I've used her as like a page turner, and I have here a pocket now, which I've just added a little. This is one of Rachel's ephemera pieces in the shabby chic kit, and I've just made a little ribbon bow and put a little gemstone there. But what I did was I cut out the envelope from the actual whole piece, which then gave me a little slot, and and it gave me a little slot to put something in, and now it won't go back in. Why won't it go back in, Marie? There we go. I have to lift it up a bit. Nice tight. And that's a journaling card there. Now, is this a textured tag? Did we have something layered textures? I think that might be the layered textures prompt. And I made a tag there. And it's all layered. So book page, doily, some vintage lace, a cutout, and a bit of music paper, and 2 lots of ribbon, a white and a blue. That's my layered tag. And again, I just have to show you this. Look, 1845. Just lush, just lush. And that goes there. And I've got room for journaling on the other side. Oh, this is another one of Steph's. This was a tab divider. I just used Steph's idea of making the tab divider into a hidden, well, it's not really hidden, but a paperclip element. That is from the shabby chic kit, and I just clustered it up with some lace and a button, and I slid it over a pocket, over a side pocket, which houses 2 journaling cards. And I've just collaged that up a little bit and used one of Rachel's words, memories. And that one is from my stash, that little card there. Had a tear, so used some of my vintage tape there, the tape that I used to repair that up. And then the clippy element goes back on here, which is housing a piece of vintage ephemera here, a Barclays check, sort of from 1966, and I've just popped her in there. Isn't she gorgeous? Just because. And you can do journaling on the back of there and the back of there. So I'm just going to slide that in there, and I also stamped on just a little bit of book page to give it a bit more oomph on that page. Now this is my layered textures as well. The other one must have been my layered tag. This one is the layered textures. Brown paper bag, and I've just layered up some doily, some lace, some papers, and cut out her, which I think was in the collage sheets in the kit, and I've just decorated the paper bag. So there's a nice pocket there, and I've just done a little cluster here with an original Green Shield stamp. Do you remember those? I don't actually remember them, but I have a whole load of these Green Shield stamps. This is my botanical element, which was day 19. So I've actually cut that from a piece of card that was inside the stamp set, showing you what the stamps would look like. So I've actually cut that out and then layered it up with a bow, some lace, and a little card here. And it's actually a pocket. So it's a pocket on some book page. And I've added in, now this is hidden journal flip cascade. Nope, it's just an extra that I've done. So it's just an extra room for journaling, an extra trifold. So it actually could be my minimalist day as well. So that's in there. Bit more of my vintage tape to help keep that, stop that page from ripping. This is my split page, which was day 7. And that's the French paper, which I've split and then sewn it onto some of Rachel's background papers. And you can see it all the way down here. I've left the backside as is so that you can see the stitching, and it's light enough to do some journaling on there if I want anyway. And I've made a pocket this side using one of the collage sheets and just decorated up with some lace and white rickrack, and then used this beautiful lady, and I just put an eyelet there and used some lace and some fabric for a bow. So she goes in there. On this side, I think it's just a flip out that I've done, and I've added in original piece of ephemera, and I've added in a long tag there, which I've just used another word from a book, promise, and there's room for journaling on there, and that just gets put in there, and then I've just done a little cluster there. This is my monochrome. There was a monochrome day, wasn't there? Day 15, my monochrome spread. So book pages, adverts, vintage wallpaper, pockets and doilies. So it's all very neutral. Now let me show you how this works. This is a pocket here, and I have a tag or a journaling card in that pocket. So it's an up-tuck pocket, and I have that card in there. I'll show you the cards in a minute. There is also a pocket down here. So that when it's in the pocket covers up this one here. So there is another card in there. And now you can read the whole thing, because what I've done is I've made the pockets, but then used some singular pieces so that you can see the whole thing when the journaling cards have been removed. So if I remove that one, and if I remove that one, you can now see the whole advert piece here. So I made the pockets and then stuck and cut the adverts where they needed to be for the pocket entries there, the openings. And on every journaling card is a collage of book pages, and I've used Rachel's papers on the back to journal on. So that one, collage of book page, original vintage wallpaper piece, and I've just done that on the back. So I've used Rachel's papers and ephemera pieces on the back. Journal card, there we go, some of Rachel's papers and original vintage wallpaper, a banner there, and again Rachel's papers on the back. So that's how I've done that one. So it looks monochrome and neutral, but I've done a nod to Rachel on the back where I've used her ephemera pieces and papers. So these ones get put. I thought that was quite clever. And then they get put back in there like so. So that was my monochrome page spread. And on this side, I think I intended this to be a minimalist page. That's from my stash, and then this flower's just been cut out from one of Rachel's papers that's in the kit. And then I've done a bit of hand sewing again, bit of lace and crochet trim, and ephemera piece from Rachel, little things from her words, and I've just put a little flower on there. And that just, so I didn't glue all of that down, I just glued it enough to stay on, which then left me a little bit of an opening to pop something in there. This is just a journaling card there on some vintage French paper. Now this will come out, so these photo corners are holding the whole piece down, so I have room under here if I wanted to use it as a pocket or something, but this whole thing does come out. Let me just do that for you very gently. There, and there. So that's vintage French book page, and it's rag paper, you can feel it. And this is the whole piece. Now this is my journaling in a frame. Is it a framed piece? Where is that? Where did I see that? What day? No, feature for anything goes. Hidden journaling for pocket of card. Framed journaling spot, day 25. So this is my framed journaling spot, and it's moves. So that's one of my favorite images from Rachel's papers. So in the botanical, in the shabby chic, she gave us a few like little toppers. So I've torn out one of the sort of toppers, laid it onto a darker piece to give it a bit of a frame, and then this is my hidden frame journaling. Sorry, so I can journal in there, and it will be in a frame. So that's my idea for that one. And then this, because it's a bit wibbly wobbly, not completely cornered, you have to be very careful getting it in there, but it will go in. There we go. A little bit fiddly, but it does go in there. She says, I have to. Okay, so now just this one, and I am going to get it in because I know it goes in there. There we go. There we go. So that's in there. Oh, now this was what I originally thought of for my envelope page, because I used some original stamps to decorate the side pocket here with a bit of rickrack, and here is my envelope. So I originally thought that that would be my envelope page, and it still can be, and it's got some vintage writing paper in there which I've just folded up and decorated the front of the envelope. So that can still be classed as the envelope page. But when my mum gave me, oh, this one, when my mum gave me, look, it's so pretty. So that is my envelope page as well. This is my gatefold. So here is a little cluster of buttons, lace and crochet in an eyelet, and 2 pieces of Rachel's papers there, the collage ones, and I just pull out this. So you pull out that bit and then it opens. So it opens that way and opens that way. And I didn't want to cover up too much of this beautiful piece. You can see the original, look, original like embossed stamp there, and the date is, I'm sure it's 1945. Yep, 1945, the year my father was born. And I didn't want to cover, it's just too lovely. And you can journal here, and here there's plenty of room to journal on, but I wanted to show it off as much as possible. So that's what I've done for my gatefold. And these two pieces here, I glued there and glued here. So I glued top and bottom of each piece, which just left me a little bit of room to put something across. So it stops them from opening. So that is my gatefold page. And that's on the other side of the book, the paper bag. And I've just made a journaling card there using one of Rachel's ephemera pieces, and just a little bit of a that's from her ephemera piece, and I've just cut it out, inked it, and stuck it on. I need some tea. Hidden journaling under a flap. So there's some lined paper, and I've just like clustered it up a little bit and did a little collage in the middle, and hand sewed. You can see the hand sewing just there. Hand sewed some fabric, so shabby chic fabric with a piece of lace over the top. So that's my journaling under a flap. And on this side, so I have a top pocket again. I think this is like, is there a prompt that's clustered? Something cluster, a tag cluster? No. There definitely is something about just collard cluster or something. And I've done a top pocket there. And here is some journaling using one of Rachel's envelopey thingies. And I've just used a vintage button there to tie it up with. What's happened? There's only, hang on. Come on, got to go through both. There we go. So it's like I don't know, it's almost like a policy, I suppose, but it just gives you a little bit of journaling space, but you also could slide something in there, tags it, and it would hold it. So that is there, and a little vintage button, an original vintage button. That goes in there. Oh yes, and this is from, look, can you just see, memoranda. That is just from a vintage, like 1960s housewife diary thing. And I had two of them. I picked up two of them from an auction. I was lucky enough to bid successfully on both of them. So that page has come out from one of those, like a housewife's diary type thing. Let me put that in that way. Just easier for the button to fall towards the center. And here, so this is like a little clustering of Rachel's bits and pieces, but it's actually, oh, there's enough room in there for this tiny, tiny little tag, which I love. And it just goes in there. I love that. There we are. You just fit in there rather nicely, don't you? On this side is a flip out using one of Rachel, oh, so pretty, using one of her clusters. You can see the original bit of vintage paper there, and I've just made a pocket with one of her ephemera pieces in there, and of course plenty of room for writing. And on this side is that original piece. Just look, and I've made the flip out there, so that is the, and I've just stuck it down, a quiet moment, and that can be like a little tuck spot if you want it to be. Journaling space here, little tab to turn over, and that is my little cluster. I'm sure that was my original cluster day. What day was that? Tuck spots, could be a tuck spot. That might be my tuck spot day, which was day 10. And inside there, I've just slipped one of those and a rose from my stash. And they stay quite nicely in there. And a tuck spot at the end. So those are my lovely finished journals from the My Daily Spread 26. I have loved doing it. Now, there is one missing. One of the days is missing, and it was my day day 9, my fold out spread, let me just put that there a minute, my fold out spread, which was my peekaboo. Well, my peekaboo, the journals that, can you tell how small they are? They fit in my hand. So my idea for the June collaboration was to be small, so that once the pages were in, I could just then decorate them with using the prompts. So these fit in my hand. They are small. And the piece I made for my day 9, my video, my peekaboo, was too big. Because it was my tutorial, I didn't want to make it too small, because most of you are making an average size journal, so A5 size. So I managed to find somewhere for it. See, now this won't fit in my screen. This is my envelope journal, which I've brought out every now and then. Do you remember? And it's nearly finished. So these are all envelopes. Envelope, 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 envelope. So I've made this journal using envelopes, envelope. Nice big pocket in that envelope. And I've started to, well, it is mostly full. I want to put that there, I think. Old Prima packaging. So lots of space to journal, and actually it does look like there's still lots of space to fill, but I'm getting there. That was from the last collaboration, my shaker tags. But let me find that was the other one I did. That was my day 26, my bigger one that I had to show you, and then we did one together. That was my, there we go. That was my original one, and I've popped that in there with the envelope flap over there. And here, I think I found a place for this one, my peekaboo. So I've glued my belly band on, okay, so it will live here, and then here is my peekaboo. Okay, so I have found a place. Do you remember that this was quite tight? The band to hold it in was quite tight. Well, I just made it slightly bigger by adding some pieces. I cut the original belly band and just added a little bit extra paper to give it a bit more room, and it won't slide down because of the cluster there. It stops it from falling through. So that is where I am going to keep my peekaboo. So everything, including the days that I did a tutorial, I have found a place for everything. So thank you for joining me. I might decide to do one more spread. If I do, look, I can't even get them on the screen. If I do, I will share it with you. But I thought I would do a flip through of my journals. If you are interested in purchasing any, please let me know. I'm not going to give away both of my June ones. One of them will be for me. But if you notice something that you really like, and you're interested, please get in touch, and we can come to some sort of an arrangement, I'm sure. Thank you for joining me. I really hope that you share some of your spreads on the Rach and Bella Facebook site. I will link all the places to go in my description. And thank you again, and I'll be back soon with something or other, I'm sure. I have a few ideas, so yeah, bear with me. Keep watching out for what I put up. So thank you. See you soon. Bye.